Hey, what's up, guys? Mike Patrick. In this video, I want to talk about pop culture. And I want to talk about pop culture and its effect on society. And I want to provide some intention, okay? In my videos, every so often, I like to state my intent, okay? Because I believe in a world where so many people are misunderstood, especially if you're from a certain demographic. You know, you're judged a lot of times. You're not even tried to be, people don't even try to understand you sometimes. This is across the board, but especially in certain demographics. You know what I mean? All people judge other people, okay? But sometimes that can work, depending on your demographic, that could work to your benefit or it could work against you, okay? Now, with that said, we all have the subconscious mind, okay, guys? And if you're in the millennial, Gen Z, really all across all age groups that's here, but especially for the Gen Xers on down to Gen Alpha, I think is the latest generation and the name they have for it. So our pop culture changed dramatically from, say, baby boomers, okay, and people before them, like what they came up on in this country, in this world, and the difference in what they came up on and the people before them, and then the difference, you know, based on what what we have come up on and what we come up on for the younger generations, the ones younger than mine. Okay. And I mean this from a pop culture. What I mean by pop culture, when I say it right now, I mean the things that we are given that are made popular, okay? That affects us all and that influences us all, okay? And we all have, like I said, a subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind doesn't really filter anything. It absorbs everything. Now it's up to you and your ego to filter things as far as how serious you take things, how things affect you, okay? And how you allow it to affect your life and your brain and your ego and how it develops your ego, okay? Based on how much you absorb something. It may or may not become a part of you. All right. I say that to say this. Movies, music, those are the biggest forms of media. Movies, music, TV, period, okay? Media, period, though. Propaganda, period, okay? And what I realize is you can't run from any of it, okay? Especially if you live in this country, you can't avoid pop culture. You can't avoid it. All right, so all you can do is analyze it, embrace it, analyze it, and try to see things for what it is and try to work through the psyche. And that's what I try to help people do. We all are affected by everything in society, and I don't want to say everyone, but everything, all the things that are laid out before us has an effect on our subconscious mind. You can't not see it, okay? Now, what happens is in a religious world, okay, what I disagree with when it comes to religion and why I like to try to bring everything together is because I feel like in a lot of regards, it mostly is all the same. I think it's the religious aspect of things and the ego aspect of things that wants to separate every single thing. even the good from the bad. You know what I mean? But it's all about balance, and it's all about totality and oneness. And you can't run from what society has already put before us, okay? Now, so you have to deal with it. Now, a lot of people are scared to do that. So from a religious standpoint, people want you to stay away from certain things because it's considered evil. It goes against their religious ideas, their ego ideas, their religious. They're getting away from the oneness of it all. That's why I'm into, or I've been into, and I've studied a lot of spirituality that shows the togetherness of it all, and how you have to embrace it all mentally, okay? Because I'm not saying that it's a lot of stuff in pop culture that if we were to embrace it as far as taking it on as ourselves and acting out, then the world would be even in more shambles than what a lot of people consider it to already be in. Okay? But this is the responsibility. This is the thing, the responsibility of pop culture. You know what I mean? And what we put out, or what has been put out before us. When somebody just shows you stuff that's already been put out by, especially if it's somebody that doesn't have the power that the orchestrators of pop culture have, then that's just someone showing you something. The responsibility, if you feel like there's a responsibility, the responsibility lies in the creator of the culture, okay? Now, with that said, most of us that's affected by music aren't the orchestrators of creating that music, putting that the money, the everything that goes into putting that content out. Most of us are not the driving force behind that. Movies, TV, all that. But yet we all are affected by it. So what I like to do is I try not to separate it all. I try not to run from it all. What I try to do is I try to connect it all in ways that are ultimately the intent. I try to connect it all in ways that are ultimately beneficial. Okay? Because when somebody shows you something and gives you an idea, you know, then you can, like I always say, consider it. Okay? But you have to know where that person is coming from, or people can be misunderstood. So this is the thing. One of my biggest, for example, I used to not so much now, because I felt like I've grown past it, or past the teaching. Like I said, I'm not in my ego. When I listen to people, when I listen to things, when I see people, when I see things, I try to draw from it what I feel like the Most High wants me to draw from them and their information, okay? And the information, if it's not coming from a particular person or something like that. And I try to use what I can use from it, or get what I can get from it, without it necessarily becoming a part of my ego one way or another. It could be good or bad, because there could be good things within something that we consider bad, but there could be bad things within something that we consider good. So I'm not saying, just for example, with religion, it's a lot of people, I'm not saying this is necessarily my opinion, but there's a lot of people who think religions are evil. There's people who think that, who think the basis of religions is to control people. Like, so what I mean is that it's negative or evil, bad intent, to control people, to manipulate people, to separate people, just to give a few of the things that some people would say that religion is responsible for, or that it does. On the flip side, people say that religion is good. Me personally, I believe both. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not polarized. I realize how things have good and bad parallels, and is meant to be conjoined, and you're supposed to see the wholeness and totality in things. Okay? And so on the good side, you could say that religion is good for governing people's lives and giving them some format, some structure. You know what I mean? So people won't be people as individuals won't be all over the place. They have something to govern their lives by, and in turn, society won't be all over the place, and society has something to govern its life by, or the lives of those within the society. So it makes sense either way. Um, with that said, guys, we all growing up in the times that we have grown up in, if you are a millennial on down, especially, we all have been affected by darkness and light, as you could say. Okay? How many of us grew up listening to music that we probably shouldn't have been listening to? How many of us grew up watching TV shows, movies, things like that we probably shouldn't have been indulging in at a time in life where our minds were so impressionable? Now, that's the thing. We grow up, we become adults, and then we try to separate ourselves from all that. It's time to be an adult, right? But your subconscious mind, to go back to what I was talking about, your subconscious mind is all still there. It's all part of your psyche, okay? And what happens is we don't realize it when we children a lot of times, how it affects you. Like you don't lose these things. You grow up, but you don't lose what has helped develop your psyche. So from a psychological standpoint, you have to work through those things. Now we like to try to block out the darkness. We don't want to deal with the darkness, okay? Or we don't want to incorporate the darkness. When I mean incorporate it, I mean consider its content in our lives matched up with the good content in our lives, okay? And I was fortunate enough to where when I was growing up with like music and movies and things that I probably shouldn't have been watching and stuff when I was younger, TV shows, all these different things, I always had this thing built into me that knew what was me and what wasn't. Like I wasn't overly influenced. So a lot of people, how many young people, or they may be older now, but they're suffering the consequences of things they may have done when they were young based off of influences that overly influenced them at a younger time of their life. Okay? So once it's already done in the sense of if pop culture has already raised us a certain type of way, you can't just try to put these things to the back and act like they never existed or they don't exist in your mind based on the fact that you're just grown now and you don't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? That's all a part. The light and the dark is all a part of life. Okay? And this is more spiritual talk now. The light and the darkness and trying to harness it. What happens is you have people that all they want to do is get the ego still. All they want to do is get caught up on the dark side. You got some people that all they want to do is act like they're a projection of straight light. You know what I mean? But look at it as darkness is light, and out of darkness comes light. And sometimes you have to visit, and if you're really trying to help other people, if you're really trying to help yourself and in turn help other people, you got to deal with the real things. Okay? So that's another thing I don't really like about religion a lot of times. Not saying everyone within a religion, but a lot of times, you know what I mean, we want to identify with something or disassociate with something. We want to identify with something because it seems like it's all good and it's given the projection, it's given the persona, it's given the the vibe, or sometimes I don't even want to say vibe, because you can feel a vibe, whether no matter what somebody is trying to project, you can feel the vibe a lot of times, depending on where you at spiritually. You know what I mean? Regardless of what somebody's trying to put forth in front of you. But we're the reason why people feel like they gotta at least come across and have the image of being squeaky clean is because they fear the judgment of others. You see what I'm saying? For judging them for that. But in reality, if they were to project, or if they were to express something that wasn't so pleasant, you see what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is, we all have these, what you would consider, and I don't want to use the word dark, because I don't want people to think that it means you're a dark person. But we all have these influences in our psyche, because the culture that we live in. For example, you on the news. I mean, if you look at the news, you see dark stuff, bad stuff happening all the time. And a lot of times we want to disassociate. If you're a good person, you want to disassociate from all that. Like, you hate to believe that that's the type of environment or world that you are actually living in. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, apparently it is, and then you feel blessed that that type of stuff haven't come around you, or don't come around you. But at the same time, you have empathy for the fact that it does happen. You have respect for the fact that it does happen, and that there is darkness in this world, or things that we wouldn't perceive to be so heavenly. You know what I mean? If you had to judge this world, you would say it's a mixture of heaven and hell. You see what I'm saying? It's like a middle ground, because everything ain't all bad. You see what I mean? But I think there's light that can come out of any darkness if the intention is right, and if you are doing it, if things are being gone about the right way. With that said, when you're trying to bring people into light from darkness, or if you're trying to bring more balance to society and people, okay, and to make a healthier person and a healthier people and a healthier society overall, then you have to deal with the things that people don't want to deal with, or what people don't want to, or what people want to shun. Because if you don't, you're going to have imbalance, and it's going to just be worse. And so from a lot of teachings or a lot of things that I've studied or come across, because everything that I look at, everything that has been taught, that I might have come across, all the information I come across, everything don't stick. I don't agree with everything. I don't know everything to be true. The way that somebody is saying it, the way that somebody is telling it. A lot of times you have to, not a lot of times, all the time, if you smart, what you would try to do is you got to get pieces from everywhere and try to put it together and find the commonalities, okay? Because at the end of the day, if you try to listen to, or if you buy into one particular thing, then you also are buying into the propaganda and the motives of where that is coming from, okay? And if you're trying to find the overall truth, you can't get stuck in one person's church. You can't get stuck on one person's YouTube channel and with their views and their motives and their intent and their you know what I mean, things like that. And not to say that it's intentional. We all struggle with ego. Some of us struggle with it a lot more than others. But even those of us who think we are transcending it, and we have transcended, or we're in the midst of transcending the ego and trying to find the wholeness and the oneness and how it all relates to each other, and really have the purest intent of truth, we can still get we're still being bombarded by ego, because you have the rest of the world, the rest of society, that are still there on a large scale, and therefore they're still, because like I said, your subconscious doesn't miss nothing, so they're still feeding you information that has to filter, even though your idea is to bring it all together for the better. Okay, now with that said, you have to realize what appeals to people, what gets people attention. Okay, but then once you do that, your intent has to be stated clearly so you won't be misunderstood. Now, the world that we live in today, okay, it's going to be hard to get these young people attention. Trying to seem holier than thou about everything all the time, when they've come up in a society in which they had no control over, in a pop culture that glorifies darkness, negativity, sin, and things like that. And that is what they are attracted to. Don't mean they're not good people, but a lot of times that's what they are attracted to. You know what I mean? That's why people go watch scary movies and stuff. We are like, it's an innate fleshly attraction to what's the word I want to use? Fear. A lot of times, fear and anger. You know what I mean? And things like that. That's what's expressed a lot of times in certain types of music and movies and TV shows and things like that. That's what we are. That's what entertains us. Okay. And if we're not careful, it can shape and mold us if we don't know the lens and the perspective to look at things from. With that said, like, a lot of what I try to do is I try to be realistic, and I try to bring people back. Like, if you notice, like, what I do is, when you look at my YouTube videos, you're getting me. You see what I mean? I consider myself an artist, artsy. I don't like to trap my mind. I like to express thoughts and things like that, or information that I come across. I like to express it one way or another, and I try to find different ways to do that. But when you are watching me on YouTube, you're pretty much getting the real me. I try to be a respectful person. I try to be a considerate person, an intelligent person, a loving person, and a set apart person from all the things that I feel like are downfalls to man. It's a part of this world, but it doesn't help us become the best versions of ourselves. And I try to piece it all together so somebody can say, okay, I see that this is a real person. I see that he's knowledgeable about all things, or as much as he could be knowledgeable about. But at the same time, he's not necessarily of this one particular thing. Okay? And you have to teach a lot of times through expression and ideas and things of this nature, in order to help and reach other people. Like, not to say that it's a lot of people that listen to me now, that I got millions or billions of subscribers or anything like that, right? But for the people that do, for the people that I feel like I'm more, because at the end of the day, I have to try to identify. I have to be myself and be my background, meaning not trying to shun what I come from, and try to identify with that, and trying to help other people that can identify with me on some level. Okay? And I have to, a lot of times, in order to help those people, or to get those people to hear you, you have to appeal to them first, initially. You know what I mean? You have to get something that catches their attention. I don't want to say it don't matter how you catch, but you get what I'm trying to say. It don't matter. It could be rap music, okay, which a lot of people condemn, okay. But if that's what draws you in, so you can find your way to a YouTube video and then hear me speak in a positive manner and speak good fruits, you know what I mean? And give good perspective, things that make you think that can ultimately help you and then help other people and help society as a whole, then so be it, right? Um that's why you notice on YouTube too, I'm always very careful with my words. Now, I've had um I've had incidents and things like that um on my spiritual journey, and the things that we all go through mentally and things like that, and just changes within the body, within the spirit, within life and things like that, where sometimes I'm I may say things that sometimes I don't even know, you know what I mean, why I said it, or um what it meant to me, you know what I mean? Sometimes, like, through manic periods and things like that, sometimes things may seem like it makes sense to you, but then when you get back in a more normal, stabilized state, it doesn't make any sense at all. I'm getting better with that. Um, but at the same time, mostly, I think that things that I say make sense and are very beneficial to society. If society can accept everyone, you know what I mean, um, and be open and receptive to everyone, okay, and what they have to offer. I think that I'm a very beneficial person to the forwarding of society as an influencer by being able to express myself and express my ideas, and um, I don't even want to use the word beliefs, but findings and research and my perspective when I piece it all together. I like to think that I have a very respectable mind to people that are that can somewhat relate to me. Okay, so I just wanted to get on here and express that as pop culture, if we want to see change, okay, for the better, meaning like peace, happiness, abundance, prosperity for all, you know what I mean, and things like that, as much as possible. Not to covet, because I understand some people, you got to understand that some people are just going to be in different positions and everybody's going to have different things, stuff like that. I'm not talking about coveting and feeling like everybody, because that's a problem too, feeling like everybody should have the same thing. I feel like everybody should have the bare necessities, you know what I mean, and the opportunity to go out and get more. But that's a whole nother story. Um, Pop culture and those responsible for it have to take more responsibility for what they put into the minds of the youth who is going to eventually grow up to be the adults. So if you feel like we living in such a screwed up world right now, if you feel that way, and if you can't see the balance, if you can't see all the good that's happening or the good that can come out of the bad once the smoke clears a little bit, then what I would say is put your resources into um, raising kids in a cleaner environment with the movies and the music and stuff like that. Because like as they say, when they talked about the drugs coming over here and stuff in the early '80s and stuff like that, one of the things that people would say is, black people don't have no boots. How is this stuff getting over here? When you hear about the crazy amount of guns that the youth is getting in urban areas and stuff, you ask yourself, how are they getting these guns? They're not manufacturing these guns. Where's this stuff coming from? You see what I mean? When you talk about the music, when you talk about the television and stuff like that, nobody that is soaking all this stuff up, they're not the ones responsible for putting this stuff out. You see what I mean? They don't have the resources to fund a music industry or a movie industry. You know what I mean? Things like that. So what I mean is just more responsibility. Now, for example, we as individuals have to have responsibility. So, for example, a lot of stuff that I did, that's another reason I show my family a lot and things like that, because I want you to have both sides of me, or really the one side of me. But as far as things that I express and might share and stuff like that, it's for somebody out there. And then if you follow me in totality, not if you just seen one video, not if you just seen one post, you know what I'm saying? And not things like that. If you follow me and are able to put me together in totality to see what I actually am. Now, with that said, that's why I don't like letting my children listen to, have they listened to bad music? Have they heard it? Have they come across it? Sure. Because a lot of it is a little bit of what, I never forget, my mother told me this, or told somebody this, and I might have been around to hear it. Like, when I was younger, I never forget, she said, the reason I let him listen to all that type of music and stuff is because he's not that type of person. He's not in that lifestyle. He's not that type of kid, but I don't want him to be naive to it. So that's the thing. We can try to shut ourselves off from certain realities, but it doesn't mean that it's not a reality. And I do appreciate listening and growing up listening to certain music and seeing certain things on TV and stuff like that, because it did keep me away from it. I just like now, I know how to enjoy things without taking it too far, without indulging in it myself. But everybody's not like that. Everybody's not going to be a kid like that, because it can go two ways. Like I said, to me, while it did influence me and it showed me a lot, and I feel like I was able to maneuver better in certain environments, because I felt like I understood the environments more, and a lot of the music taught me things, and television taught me things that I didn't necessarily have to experience, which I think is a good thing. But for some people, it can influence them to do those things. As they say, does art imitate life, or does life imitate art? You know what I mean? Or what came first, the chicken or the egg type thing. So yeah, I try not to, you don't want your children being too naive and setting them up to be completely naive in the world, unless you can completely shield them from a certain type of environment. But that's the difference. For one, you can't guarantee that, especially the world that we're going into. You can't guarantee that you're going to be able to shield them from everything. Excuse me, I got a pouch in. When you see me doing that, guys, because I don't want y'all thinking like I be pulling stuff on my mouth, like, or whatever. like I be having pouches in, like nicotine pouches like that, and I be having them in. So sometimes as I'm talking, the more I'm talking, it maneuvers around in my mouth, and so I have to adjust it or either take it out. But yeah, like I said, you don't want them being naive. But I don't have overindulged. They do not listen to. I'm very aware and conscious of me and their mother, what we allow them to listen to, what we allow them to see, and things like that. And as they get older, as we allow them to, you know what I mean, grow up and listen to certain things or hear certain things, or we're not as conscious about it. You know what I mean? We're not as, oh no, you can't listen to that. Oh no, what's that? You know, whatever. We feel as though it's okay, because the foundation early of not allowing certain things to get into their mind early, you know what I mean? Now that they're more mature and their brains are developed a little more, they know how to decipher things or decode things. So a lot of things too. The reason I can look at or listen to certain things or see certain things and not take it to heart as much or not be as serious about it is because I look at things from a metaphysical standpoint. So I try to get a metaphysical understanding of things. So if I share something, it's more metaphysical than literal a lot of times. And I always try to make what I'm perceiving from it something metaphysically positive. Okay? Um and because sometimes you do need that edge. Like when we go listen to music, you're not, I mean, when you go to work out, you're not listening to Mozart. When you about to go play a basketball game, a football game, I guarantee you, when those USA Olympic basketball players are getting ready and they listen to their music, I ain't gonna say I guarantee you, but I'm pretty sure that they're listening to hip hop. You know what I mean? I'm sure they're not listening to orchestra, but some of them could be. You never know. You know what I mean? But you get what I'm trying to say. So sometimes you need that edge, especially living in this world. You don't want to be too vulnerable. I think that's another reason why we indulge and stuff like that, and we gravitate to it, because nobody wants to feel vulnerable. You hear this music, you see this propaganda on TV, you see these things going on in the news, and you don't want to feel like, man, I'm not, like, this is not me. How did I end up in this world? I don't want to live in this type of world, but yet you here. So you got to have a little edge to yourself too. But mainly it's spiritual and metaphysical. So you can gain spiritual and metaphysical knowledge and prowess from it, as opposed to being literal with it. Okay? Hopefully this was a good video. I'm sure there's some things I want to tie in that I didn't say, but hopefully the overall gist and idea is understood. All right, guys, peace. See you on the next one.